Josh Hennig here on GameNight 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. Wild football weekend. Of course, we will get to everything about the Eagles and Chiefs game yesterday. Join us coming up on the show. Eagles NFL writer Martin Frank will join us coming up at 6:20 to dig deeper into the Eagles' loss to the Chiefs. Also, of course, my mea culpa, as we do each week a little bit later in the show. We gave picks over the weekend. We will run it back for you. A busy football weekend. And of course, we love to hear from you guys. Text board is open. 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. As always, we are also live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. You can join the show there. And of course, if you want your message priority read, we prioritize all the messages from the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Download for free from the Apple App Store and Google Play. So the Eagles lose. The loss itself is not the surprise. The loss itself should in no way be something that should shock anybody, okay? I didn't know a single person who confidently told me, let me tell you something, Josh, the Eagles are going to win that game. I didn't know a single person said that. I don't remember hearing a single person who said that. But the problem with the loss yesterday is the same problem we've had for weeks now. And as I wrote about over at 973ESPN.com, the penalties again doom the Eagles. Because Sirianni and Jalen Hurts actually did their job. The offensive game plan was better. We saw the running backs and the tight ends get involved. This is the Eagles offense now has now scored at least 30 points twice in 4 games. They scored a season high 29 against the Steelers last year. So the offense is better. Jalen Hurts had a very frustrating performance against the Cowboys. Those 2 interceptions just were not good. But yesterday he bounces back. No interceptions. Touchdowns. The most passing yards he's ever had in a game at 387. And now you have an Eagles offense that you can look at and say, hey, they're productive. They're getting things done. I can believe in this offense. But the penalties, again and again, are haunting this team. Listen, you can point to all the stuff on defense you want, okay? You can point to no Brandon Graham. You can point to the linebackers not being good enough. You can point to Rodney McLeod's first game back. And I understand all those things. But you know what? If Derek Barnett wasn't a magnet for penalties at this point, and if the Eagles would just stop shooting themselves in the foot, how different is that game yesterday? Because you know the Chiefs are going to score. The Chiefs are one of the best offenses on the planet right now. If the Chiefs right now went and played, I don't know, in college football, University of Alabama, they would destroy them. That's how good the Chiefs offense is. They are elite. So I'm not surprised the Eagles got scored on. But I don't understand why this team keeps having problems when it comes to penalties. You know, the report out there is, well, you know, Nick Sirianni, he had to get some tough conversations today. What does that even mean? Like Mike Gill said earlier, what do you do, curse at them? Like Mike McCarthy, his idea of being tough, being a football guy on Hard Knocks, was yelling curse words randomly in sentences that didn't even make sense. I really don't care what toughly means. You got to send a message. I don't know what that message is, but you got to send a message. I don't know if it's benching Derek Barnett. I don't know if it's, making serious changes on different personnel groups on defense. I don't know what exactly it is, but there's two big problems with this team. And the number one problem above anything else is the penalties. And to me, a distant second is the defensive scheme. Because Jonathan Gannon was supposed to come in here and be this coaching prodigy, this defensive savant. And for the first two games, they only allowed teams to score 23 points. Now, the last two games, they've allowed a combined of 83. So how do you go from 23 points allowed to 83 points? And it can't all just be Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott. It can't just all be Kellen Moore out scheming and out coaching you. It's got to be something else. And if I hear one more person tell me it's the linebackers, I'm going to tell you that's not just that. Because they mentioned in the broadcast multiple times yesterday, this defense runs more zone than any team in the NFL. They run the least amount of man coverages of anybody in the league. So either you got to change your zone coverages a little bit, or Jonathan Gannon might have to do something he's not comfortable with, which is maybe not run so much zone. Because how many times are they getting beat on those zone coverages? You go back and watch the game and you realize that the Tyreek Hill catches, for example, okay, the McCall Hardman catch, or even the shovel passes on the goal line, they have those openings because the defenders are covering zones. There's almost no assignment man-to-man situations. How does somebody get so open? Well, I'll tell you why. Because no one's watching them. When you tell a guy to cover an area of the field instead of covering a man, at some point, Gannon needs to realize that you may need to have man assignments at some point. And the penalties and the defensive scheme to me are the two biggest concerns. The Eagles' offense is not the problem. Remember, last year the Eagles averaged 20.9 points per game. Jalen Hurts right now is 8th in the NFL in passing yards. Devonta Smith had his first 100 receiving yards game yesterday. And Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell combined for 472 total yards in 4 games. That means your running back position, the two running backs, Gainwell and Sanders, combined are averaging over 100 total yards from scrimmage per game. The offense is not the problem. As long as Sirianni stays out of his own way and stops trying to be the smartest guy in the room, like he was in the 49ers game. I generally think that Sirianni showed you his inexperience and his youth in the 49ers game because he got exposed. How different is that game yesterday if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside doesn't commit that stupid penalty? I mean, what is he trying to do? Seriously, what is up with the half stiff arm, half block when the guy hasn't even caught the ball anymore? Like, J.J., are you even paying attention? You know, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside this year, he doesn't really even play that much when you break it down. Why is he even on the field in that situation? Here's the stat. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has a total of 39 snaps in offense and 62 snaps on special teams. He has 0 pass targets. So in what world does putting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside on the goal line in that situation on a pick play make sense? I'll tell you what it makes. None. Now, is that Sirianni? Is that Steichen? Is that Aaron Moorhead, the wide receivers coach? Whoever it is, it's not good. If J-Jaw literally doesn't do that and they score that Ertz touchdown. How different does that game look yesterday? Josh Hennig here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, we'll dig deeper into the Eagles and Chiefs game coming up with Martin Frank at 6:20 tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. Get to some of your messages before we hit the break. I don't want to make you guys wait till the whole show. I'm going to squeeze in a couple messages to get in here on 97.3 ESPN. Texter chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, once again, penalties take away momentum. Josh Sweat sacked. The McLeod penalty was a major punch in the gut. And, of course, the Devonta's TD being called back. Yeah, this is now two different receivers. Jalen Reagor was one. Devonta Smith was another. That both got ran out of bounds, came back in bounds, and caught touchdowns. This is a moment that you got to take these guys. You know, Sirianni prides himself on being a former position coach. Right? Sirianni used to coach. We saw the video during training camp of him yelling at Travis Fulgham, right? We've seen the video of him coaching up the receivers at practice. This is the moment where Sirianni and Moorhead got to go into that receiver room and say, guys, you got to have more field awareness. You can't be getting run out of bounds. And then you go into practice this week, and if you're going to run those routes, train those guys to not get run out of bounds. And don't tell me it's because Devonta Smith isn't strong enough. Jalen Reagor is about 5'11 and 208. He is thick. And he got ran out of bounds and had to come back in. So you got two very different receivers. One guy who is basically a Mighty Mouse build, and the other guy, the Slim Reaper, both got ran out of bounds, almost the exact same play, the exact same situation, and they both got called back for touchdowns. That's a problem. You got to train these guys. These guys got to get on the practice field. They got to get in the film room. They got to learn field awareness. If it happens to one receiver, okay. Happens to two different receivers, that's telling me something. No, that's just coming in from Jeff over on the YouTube channel. It says, these penalties, like, why do we keep getting penalties that literally lose us the game? Shaking my head. I'm with you, Jeff. I don't understand some of these penalties. Like the Andre Dillard being called down the field. You know, ineligible man down the field. He's been called that multiple times now. Like, does Andre Dillard not understand the play? Like, we always praise Jeff Stoutland for how great he is at preparing guys and coaching guys up. You saw what they did with Jack Driscoll. He slid right in there, and you watch that game, and you stare at Driscoll. He did a great job yesterday for the most of the game. The majority of the game, he was as good as any right tackle in football. But how is your right tackle that solid, that good on one side of the end, and then your other left tackle has these weird penalties? And like I said, Derek Barnett, he's obviously a magnet at this point for penalties. You got to either bench him or you got to get him to get out of his own head. Game night here on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino, Atlantic City. Bet all the action in style this football season at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook, just off the boardwalk at Bally's, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we'll get to dig deeper into Eagles and Chiefs. Coming next with Martin Frank, Eagles and NFL writer, joining us right here on Game Night. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Kevin Harlan from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. We wrap up the week with two of the hottest teams in the NFL. It's the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Raiders are off to a perfect 3-0 start. Their AFC West rival Chargers are 2-1 after an impressive road win at the Chiefs last week. Join me and Kurt Warner for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Listen to Monday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's game time. Football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to get in on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's, off the boardwalk, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. We'll get back to your guys' messages in just a bit. Keep them coming. Text board is there, 609-403-0973. DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, we are live as always on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Joining us right now on the phone line to get more into the Eagles after 4 weeks after their loss to the Chiefs, Martin Frank joins us right now. You can catch him online at MFrankNFL on Twitter, writing for the Delaware News Journal. Martin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I mean, if the Eagles didn't commit so many penalties, I have a little more sanity, but, it is what it is. I want to start there because, you look at the penalties, and we know that this is an organization that's spent the entire offseason. What was the Nick Sirianni? It's 1% better every day, accountability, discipline, fundamentals. So what is going on here? Is this a lack of the message being put across? This is just a young coaching staff that can't get the message across? What is going on here?
Well, it's kind of troubling because it's kind of like the same thing every week. You saw, the other day they had 3 touchdowns negated because of penalties, and it's like little ticky-tack things, like discipline type of things, like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, offensive pass interference because he's pushing the guy in the end zone trying to set a pick for Zach Ertz. It's illegal blockers downfield. I think that happened twice with Andre Dillard. It's just it's like a lack of discipline. I mean, it's very troubling. It's very disturbing, and they try to fix it and everything, and it's just like the same things happen every week. I mean, how many times have you seen Derek Barnett commit, a personal foul or jump off sides or something like that? I mean, it's, he, like Nick Sirianni was shown on the TV broadcast from the Dallas game going, and it's always him, when Barnett was called for offsides. But yeah, it's troubling. It's a bad look for the coaching staff. I mean, they got to find a way to get rid of these penalties because it's costing them games. I mean, that was, you take 3 touchdowns off the board. It's basically 15 points that they lost because instead of 3 touchdowns, they got 2 field goals and then turned the ball over on downs, and they lost by 12 points. So, it's not hard to do the math and see how, penalties like that are killing them.
How much of this also is, and I'm not trying to throw anybody on the coaching staff under the bus, but I'm just asking the question, when Sean McVay got hired by the Rams, he had guys like Wade Phillips and Greg Olson and these veteran coaches around him. Yeah. How much of this might be the fact that Sirianni's coaching staff just doesn't have that experienced guy on the staff that can help maybe deliver the message or maybe put down a more firm hand with the players?
Well, yeah, it's not only that. I mean, you look at their defense, and, their defense coordinator is Jonathan Gannon. He's like 38 years old. It's his first time as a defensive coordinator, which is fine. But he, Nick Sirianni himself is a first-time coach. I mean, and whoever thought we'd be longing for the days of Jim Schwartz, but, give Doug Peterson credit. I mean, when Schwartz was an experienced guy. He knew how to run the defense, and Doug, to his credit, just let him run it the way he saw fit. And, sometimes it worked, and obviously, there were some good years there. But a guy like Gannon is unproven, and I just think that, they would have been much better off with, a more experienced defensive coordinator. I mean, you look at the Cowboys, for example. I mean, their defense is much better this year. And they have an experienced coordinator in Dan Quinn, who was, used to be with the Seahawks and then coached the Falcons and stuff. So he's kind of turned that defense around because the Cowboys always had a bad defense. And now they're one of the better teams in the NFL. I mean, both offensively and defensively. So, yeah, I agree. I think, he definitely should have hired a more experienced guy, to run the defense at least. And I think that would have also helped eliminate some of the penalty problems, especially on defense, because they make a ton there as well.
We mentioned Barnett earlier. What can they do about him? Because Brandon Graham's injured. He's done for the year. So it's not like you have some other guy specifically to go to. Is there a way you could minimize him, limit his role? What can they really do about Barnett at this point?
Yeah, well, that's a great point because they're kind of stuck. I mean, losing Brandon Graham for the year with that Achilles injury, it's affected them in so many ways. I mean, not only because of his leadership, but because of, the way he played, especially against the run. And, he'd always bring pressure on defense as well on the quarterback. And yeah, they don't have many options. I mean, Josh Sweat, he was kind of like the breakout star in training camp, but he's still rather, inexperienced. And behind him, I mean, they signed Ryan Kerrigan. He's done almost nothing so far this year. In fact, he doesn't have any tackles. I think he's played like 115 snaps or something like that without any tackles. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then the other two guys are pretty much rookies. I mean, you have Milton Williams, who's their 3rd-round pick. You have Teron Jackson, their 6th-round pick. And, I mean, you can play those guys more, but I mean, they weren't doing the job either. If they were, they'd be playing a lot more than they are. So, they got to rely on Derek Barnett, and they just have to hope that he can, put all that stuff behind him and figure it out, because, it's hurting them a lot. Barnett's going to be a free agent, and I think he might be a little upset because the Eagles signed Josh Sweat to a long-term extension, which kind of means that, Barnett's future is kind of undetermined. So I don't know. It's just a lot of things going on. The defensive line is supposed to be the strength of the team, and it just hasn't really worked out that way. I mean, you look at Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle. I mean, he hasn't done much either. He doesn't have a sack yet. Javon Hargrave's having a great year and everything, but, they're not getting much out of Fletcher Cox, and he's like the highest paid guy on the team. So, they're having a lot of problems on the defensive line. That's supposed to be one of their strengths. And, that's why they have to stick with a guy like Barnett, because he's still one of the best guys they have there.
Martin Frank joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, Eagles NFL writer for the Delaware News Journal. You can follow him on Twitter at mfranknfl. Martin, the one thing was that maybe a silver lining was the fact that Sirianni and Hurts both took responsibility for the embarrassing Cowboys loss, and both of them did better this time around. Sirianni's game planning, game calling was better than the Cowboys game, and Hurts definitely played better than the last game. But how much of what we saw from those two guys was them basically just you can't get any better than the Cowboys game? How much of it was something that's really applicable moving forward?
I'd like to think that there's something there that's applicable moving forward. I mean, the way Hurts played on Sunday, I mean, he showed that he can be, a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he did a lot of things right. When he takes off and runs the ball, he can be really dangerous, and teams have to respect that. There are things he still needs to do better. And Sirianni, to his credit, has kind of like, designed the offense around Jalen Hurts' strengths. And, I mean, that's never been an issue for Sirianni. I mean, when he was in Indianapolis as an offensive coordinator, he was pretty good. He had 3 different quarterbacks in 3 years, with Andrew Luck the 1 year, Jacoby Brissett the next, and then Phillip Rivers. So, he knows how to design an offense that suits a quarterback's needs. So I think as the season goes along, you'll see that kind of develop even more with Hurts. I mean, I think he'll make Hurts into a good quarterback. And, it's just growing pains. You got the young receivers, Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins. I mean, that's another thing. They don't really have an experienced wide receiver. So you got to take the good with the bad with that. I mean, Devontae Smith was great yesterday. He had 2 games before that were, so average at best. But that's what you're going to get with a rookie. I mean, it's just, he's only played 4 NFL games. Quez Watkins barely played last year, so he's pretty much new. Jalen Reagor, missed 5 games last year. He kind of struggled, and then he's in a new offense this year. So, they're going to be growing pains. And I think Sirianni, at least offensively, can get those guys, to be even better than what they've been so far. So I would be encouraged with that, definitely going forward.
Yeah, I tend to lean to your perspective because, especially considering the fact that I keep hearing the other extreme. Some people try to tell me, they call and text the show saying, listen, Hurts can't throw the deep ball, or, Hurts isn't really a good quarterback, or, they find the smallest things and they hold it against him. And to me, one of the biggest things about Hurts isn't specifically what he does on the field, Martin, it's the off the field stuff. It's the fact that he gets to the podium after the game yesterday and says, I don't care if anybody's complimenting me. We lost the game. It's the fact that guys like Lane Johnson say, hey, come work out with me. The fact that the players around him are bought into him the stats are great in certain areas for him, but it's the fact that this is a young man who, is trying to live the talk, to me, is what is important.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, it matters a lot of what the veteran guys think about a quarterback. And, if guys like Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, and, guys like that, didn't like the quarterback, I mean, they're not going to play hard for him. And that's not been the case. Everything that Kelsey and Lane have said, it's like, what a great leader this guy is. Miles Sanders has said the same thing. And I think, like, a lot of it is, people want like the next Peyton Manning. People want, the next Tom Brady and stuff. And those guys, like, there are only like 3 or 4 of those guys. Aaron Rodgers, another guy. And Jalen Hurts, he can be a good quarterback. I mean, he's not going to be the next Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be the next Peyton Manning and stuff. And I think people have to realize that. But you can still win with a guy like that. He does a lot of things well. Like you said, he's a good leader. He can make certain passes. He can run and take off. And, that's a weapon that the Eagles have that other teams don't. So, you just gotta take the good and the bad. You gotta realize that these guys are all really young. It's like the nucleus of the team is like first and second year guys. So you just gotta grow with these guys, and there'll be some mistakes. There'll be some growing pains. There'll be some bad games like the Cowboys game. But the potential is, he can have a really good game like he did against the Chiefs. I mean, the problem is they end up with field goals when they should have had touchdowns. Otherwise, they have more of a chance against, to beat a team like that. But that's something you can fix going forward. And I think as the season goes along, you'll see that. I think they'll get better, definitely.
So with that being said, Martin, just looking down ahead now, of course, the Eagles preparing for the Panthers, just lost to the Cowboys. Then they got the Thursday night game with Tom Brady and the Bucks. Yeah. Then they got to go on the road to Vegas, to a place that everybody's experienced for the first time traveling to, with the Raiders. And then they got the Lions. So what is fair expectation from the schedule coming up?
Well, before the season started, I kind of predicted they would be like 9-8 this year. But by doing that, I figured they would be like 2-5 after that Raiders game. I think that's week 7, right? So basically, this is like a brutal part of the schedule. And right now they're 1-3. They could end up 1-6, but once they get past the Raiders, the schedule gets really easy. Like, I think like 9 of the last 10 opponents are teams that had losing records last year. And the Saints are the only team of those remaining that did not have a losing record, but they have a new quarterback and everything like that, and they're not as good as they used to be. So there are a lot of winnable games once they get past the Raiders. So, and that would kind of figure with the way they're playing. I mean, as a young team, you figure they would get better as the year goes along. So, if they can kind of weather the storm, I guess, get past the Raiders in decent shape, maybe like 2-5 or something like that, they can go on a pretty decent win streak over the rest of the season. I mean, it's just, these next few games are going to be pretty tough. I mean, Carolina's a good team. The Bucks, obviously, with Brady, but you got them on a short week. And, Brady's 44 years old, and maybe a short week doesn't work out well for him. I don't know. I'm just, throwing things out there. But, at the same time, you want to see progress. You want to see them get, better each game. And, maybe once they get past the Raiders and, they come up against the Lions, and after that, I mean, they can start putting some wins together and kind of, get back into the race in the NFC East. I mean, that's pretty much what you would have to hope for with these Eagles.
Give him a follow on Twitter at MFrankNFL. He covers the Eagles in the NFL for the Delaware News Journal. And he joins us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Martin, appreciate the time and the insight, and hopefully the Eagles season gets a little bit less miserable with the penalties, at least.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely has to change, and hopefully that will. They'll get it all figured out. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure, and anytime.
Absolutely. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City. We'll get back to your guys' thoughts and comments on the other side. I see them coming in. Of course, you can text in 609-403-0973. You can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live as always on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig at Josh Hennig on Twitter, and this is Game Night.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 5 of the 2021 season with the Eagles headed to North Carolina to face the Panthers.
Gets it to McCaffrey. He screens it and he's going to lose yards.
Pre-game coverage begins this Sunday at noon. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Hey, South Jersey, football season has finally kicked off, and that means PropSwap has the best odds in the country on futures, props, and parlays. Now is the best time to get involved while the odds are high. Who will win the MVP? Who will win the championship? These odds are America's best, only found on PropSwap. Don't miss out on a money-making opportunity by heading to PropSwap.com or downloading the free PropSwap app. Join in on the fun today and start prop swapping your sports bets.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank and CLC. We got a bunch of messages to get to. It's just a moment right here on 97.3 ESPN. I see messages coming in on the YouTube stream. I got text coming in with all your messages in just a bit here. But first, I want to remind you that this is the final game of NFL Week 4 tonight. You hear all the action. Chargers, Raiders, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30 tonight. And FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every game day. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay with 3 legs or more. And if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will make you a money because they'll give you back up to $10. That's all you got to do. 3 legs or more in a same-game parlay. And Monday is a great opportunity to make a same-game parlay bet with AFC West rivals Chargers and Raiders facing off in prime time. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet. So lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook and get up to $10 back if your bet doesn't win. New to FanDuel Sportsbook? Sign up today with promo code Hennig. You'll also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code Hennig to get your risk-free bet exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And a perfect example of a same-game parlay tonight. It's actually the guy I just saw on TV. I'm putting Darren Waller into a same-game parlay because we know that the Chargers defense is solid, but not elite, okay? We know that the Chargers defense can be had, and no one has really stopped Waller this year from doing what he wants. The only thing that stopped Waller is his own offense. There have been times that his offense just can't get him the ball properly at times. He gets targeted like in that Ravens game a gazillion times, but they don't make good throws to him. So I'm going to go with this kind of spread. I'm leaning Chargers in this game. I just think that the Raiders on the road, I just don't fully believe in them yet. I think that the wins that they had this year, there seems to be like a reason, right, for every one of their wins, right? So it's like, okay, open the season in your house, overtime, Monday Night Football, some weird things go your way. Then you hit the road, you beat a Steelers team. At the time, we thought the Steelers were a great team, but in the end, we're finding out the Steelers are very, very less than we thought they were. And then you beat a Dolphins team that put up 28 points on you. The same Dolphins team that struggled to score the week before and the week after you. The Dolphins barely put up 17 points yesterday against the Colts. And they scored nothing the week before against the Bills. So you have a defense that allowed 28 points to the Dolphins. You went on the road and beat a very mediocre Steelers team on a good day. And then you beat the Ravens at home opening night of your team. So I think the Chargers can win this game. So my same game parlay idea is you take the Chargers -3. You take Darren Waller to score anytime because you know they're going to feed him the ball. And then on the Chargers side, you roll with Keenan Allen over 82.5 yards. 2 of his 3 games this year, he hit over 100 receiving yards. So you know he's capable of it. Or if you don't like one of those other ones, you could also throw in there Justin Herbert over 308 yards. Or you can throw in there, for example, Austin Eckler over 53.5 rushing yards. Because like I said, I just feel like the Raiders defense can be had. And I think the Chargers offense is so much better than the Raiders defense. So those are some options for you for a same game parlay with FanDuel FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, let's get back to some of your thoughts and comments on the football weekend. Of course, Mea Culpa coming up in just a little bit as well. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, Matt in KMA Courthouse says, Josh, we ever figured out what's up with Lane Johnson? Hope everything's okay. Good call with Jack Driscoll the other day. The offensive line did their job. The penalties are almost more on Hurts than Sirianni because the O-line is supposed to get down the field on those plays. It's Matt from KMA Courthouse. Couple of things. We don't know what's going on with Lane Johnson. Nick Sirianni told the media today that it's a personal matter and that he has no information to give out on that. I'm assuming that whenever Lane is willing to speak out, whether it's on social media or to the media, that's when we'll find out what happened. Obviously, it was a very abrupt situation. The plan all along was for Driscoll to play right guard next to Lane and Dickerson to play left guard. And the reality is that Lane Johnson hasn't tweeted since September 27th. So he hasn't tweeted since the Cowboys. They lost to the Cowboys. So there's obviously something going on. This is a guy in Lane who's never been afraid to talk to the media, is never afraid to tweet his mind. He's just a bold kind of guy. So I'm assuming that whatever's going on, it's got to be serious in his personal life. So I genuinely hope he's okay. I genuinely hope his family's okay. But we don't know all the details, Matt and KMA Courthouse. Back to the offensive line, though. I have to agree with you that overall, the offensive line did their job. I think that the Dillard penalties, I can't blame Hurts or Sirianni, though, for the Dillard penalties. Because Dillard has now been called multiple weeks now, multiple times for this down the field penalty. So I don't know if he's not listening to Jeff Stoutland. I don't know if he's just not paying attention. I don't know what it is, honestly. I don't know what his deal is. I tend to think that that's more on Dillard than it is on anybody else at this point when it comes to his penalties. The pick penalty, that's on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So those are three penalties right there that I can't blame on Hurts or Sirianni, Matt. I think Matt and Kate make Courthouse. I think overall, Sirianni called a much better game yesterday than the Cowboys game. I thought Hurts played much better yesterday than the Cowboys game. And I think that that's a silver lining. I think the offensive line showed you that they have the dudes to get it done. You know, Brandon Brooks, whenever he comes back, I don't know if he's going to be 100%. So, to me, the fact that Driscoll looks so good at right tackle makes me feel a lot better about things. The fact that Dickerson looked better at left guard than right guard has to make me wonder if he's just one of those guys that just plays a certain side of the line better than the other. I know he played a chunk of his college career at center, but at the end of the day, Dickerson has a good amount of experience at guard. So he may just be somebody who is more comfortable at left than right. Or maybe it was just the fact that he had an entire week to practice that made him feel better, right? But I think you're right, Matt and KB Quartz. Overall, you got to give the O-line their due. You got to give Jeff Stoutland, who got Driscoll ready with basically an hour and a half, 2 hours to game time ready to play right tackle, is absolutely insane. But we do hope everything's okay with Lane Johnson. Again, like I said, he hasn't tweeted. He hasn't said anything yet. So I'm assuming it's got to be serious. Over on the YouTube channel, James chimes in and says, Josh, the Eagles need to cut J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, period. Here's the problem. I don't think they will for two reasons. One, because he made the roster and he's playing that much on special teams. I looked this up earlier. I didn't realize it was this much, honestly. So J-Jaw has played on, what is it? Here it is. 62 snaps on special teams. And he's made some plays on the special team side. So this organization tends to overvalue or maybe value enough, depending on who you ask, the special teams side of the game. That's a huge reason why he's here. I don't think the answer is cutting him, James. I think the answer is stop using him on these goal line packages when he's gotten 0 targets this year. Stop putting him on the field if you're never going to throw him the ball. Stop putting him on the field. There's no reason why you can't go on the goal line with Jalen Hurts, one of the two running backs in the backfield, both tight ends, and then two wide receivers, and one of them not be J-Jaw. You don't need J-Jaw on the field. You got Ertz, you got Goddard. And I guarantee you that if J-Jaw was not on the field, that Ertz touchdown is good. I feel very comfortable going out on a limb and saying that because this team has showed me that they can run the pick play. Just not with J.J. Whiteside. I mean, that what he did yesterday was so bad. Like I said, I just can't accept in a reality where he has to be on the field on that down. But the reason why he won't be cut, James, is because J-Jaw plays special teams. And this organization highly values special teams contributors, whether we like it or not. Tom from Margate chimes in over at 609-403-0970. Josh, I like your parlays. Tell me if the Eagles have a good chance to win the next game in Carolina. Tom in Margate, the Eagles have a chance for one reason. The Panthers' defense is banged up. That's the biggest reason. They did not look like the same Panthers defense yesterday against the Cowboys. Now, if you want to say that it was because the Cowboys offense is that good, why they didn't play well, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna fight you on that point for sure. But I gotta tell you, I don't know what the Panthers defense is at this point because this is a defense that allowed a grand total of 30 points the first 3 weeks. They get to Dallas and they allow 36. So is the defense that banged up or are the Cowboys just that good? We're going to find out this Sunday. That's really the only reason why I have faith that the Eagles have a chance in this game because I think the Panthers offensively have shown you the ability to score. Now, a huge chunk of it is because Sam Darnold is running. Do the Eagles, with their zone defense, limit his running ability? I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely something to think about. All right, before we get out of here, I mentioned on Twitter, the mea culpa came a little bit on Saturday because I was in shock. I'm telling you guys, we won the weekend with the picks, but we had 3 losses that were just so unexpected. You know, we live in a world where in college football, home field advantage is supposed to be one of the biggest things in sports, right? And I saw University of Alabama at Birmingham get destroyed by Liberty. We saw Wisconsin completely choke at home against Michigan. And then LSU completely failed in the fourth quarter against Auburn, who won in Death Valley for the first time since 1999. Michigan won at Wisconsin for the first time in a decade. I don't know what happened to home field advantage. I got to admit, listen, I walk out of it's like a little bit Jalen Hurts with me. Listen, I got to do a better job. I don't know how we lost 3 games. We won the weekend, but we had 3 big losses. I got to do a better job. Josh Hennig, Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.
With Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One with a preview of a great game to wrap up Week 4. 2 of the hottest teams in the NFL, the 3-0 Raiders at the 2-1 Chargers. And Kurt, it's a big-time AFC West rivalry. Also,
Check, check, check. Fury and Wilder are back in the ring this Saturday to complete their epic trilogy. And FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers exclusive 30-1 odds on either fighter to win. Right now is the perfect time to give FanDuel a shot because you can win $150 on a $5 bet. With FanDuel Sportsbook in your corner, you'll always get more exclusive odds. With FanDuel Sportsbook in your corner, you'll always get exclusive odds, great promotions, and so much more. That's why they're America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with promo code Hennig to get in on all the action. That's promo code Hennig to get 30-1 odds on either Fury or Wilder to win this weekend, exclusively with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max deposit. Max bonus $150. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. With FanDuel Sportsbook in your corner, you'll always get exclusive odds boosts, great promotions, and so much more. That's why they're America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with promo code Hennig. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and sign up with promo code Hennig to get in on all the action for this weekend. That's promo code Hennig to get 30-1 odds on either Fury or Wilder to win Saturday night exclusively with FanDuel Sportsbook.